Hello, everybody, and welcome to Race Department on YouTube. My name's Paul Jeffrey, and this is the Assetto Corsa Competizione racing club around the beautiful lines, twists, and turns of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. Today, we're bringing you a 90-minute semi-endurance race in the ACC Racing Club here at RD, powered by our good friends GT Omega Racing. This has been badged up as an SRO Esport warm-up event where our community drivers get the opportunity to race against each other on the same circuit that the first round of the SRO Esport GT Series AM Championship is taking place. As you can see on the screen, we're in the dying moments of qualification, so we're going to finish this session. There will be a short interlude before we start what should be 90 minutes, we hope, of very close, fair, clean, and intense racing. As I mentioned at the top of this broadcast, GT Omega are our broadcast sponsors today, so thank you to them. We have an awesome prize to give away for one of our drivers. We've got 50 drivers, believe it or not, signed up for this race. So we've got a full field of GT3 powered cars racing for prize tokens. So first place will get 50, second 49, all the way down to the final finisher of the event. They will go into a big virtual hat, a number will be drawn, and the winner will take away a very cool GT Omega Classic wheel stand. So we're looking forward to that one, and we'll be announcing that at the end of the broadcast. But meanwhile, we've got the important business of getting on with the end of qualification. So at the moment, Luca Burke is leading things with a very impressive 1 minute 57.792. Burke currently is just over 0.3 of a second ahead of Will Stevenson in second position, with Cavillion in third place, a further 10th just under in arrears. In P4 is the ever-competitive Ross Mcgregor, who is a name that many of you will recognise from RD Club Racing events. Mcgregor on a 58.353, so just over half a tenth. As I say that, actually, Mcgregor is deposited down to fifth as Taplin takes fourth position. So Mcgregor now 0.6 away from the pace. So we've got a tight qualifying session. I'm looking on the boards at the moment. We've got just over a second covering the top seven, but then from 7th through to 20th, a further second or so covers those drivers. So a little bit of field spread, actually, going contrary to what I said about it being close, a little bit of field spread outside the top seven. But it's a 90-minute race. There's no mandatory pit stop, but a pit stop will almost certainly be required. So qualifying's not really the be-all and end-all. Staying out of trouble, having a neat few opening laps, making your way up to the front of the grid and getting track position is going to be more important. This is, although not an endurance race in the classic GT World Challenge series of 6 hours, it's still a semi-endurance, and keeping clean, staying out of trouble, getting across the line as quickly as possible will be the key. So qualification, it's important, but it's not the be-all and end-all in these kind of races. This is not a sprint event by any stretch of the imagination, as we look at the beautifully liveried Aston Martin V8 Vantage now of Lucas Schizze driving sixth position, just 0.9 away from the front of the field, but only 0.3 away from Mcgregor in fifth. So Lucas is on a push lap as we're going to overtime now. Qualification has finished. Everybody's getting a chance that's crossed the line before the checkered flag to set a final time on the grid. Will he be able to improve from his current sixth place? It needs to find 0.3 in the final portion of the lap. It's a big ass. That's a lot of time to find. He takes all the racing line. Maybe runs a little bit wide, actually. That could be potentially an off track. Crosses the line, fails to improve, and stays in sixth place. At the front of the field, Burke and Stevenson already in the pit lane. Ross Mcgregor now is one of the higher drivers on a charge. Big Bentley, big car, good round here, faster straight line, good on the curbs. Mcgregor, we know already from his recent exploits at RD, is a talented driver, so Mcgregor will be disappointed with fifth so far, looking to try and close that gap down to the cars in front, crosses the line and fails to improve. So Ross Mcgregor will be starting the race from fifth position. We're looking at Schaap now in his sister Bentley. Marco Schaap in the other beautifully liveried, I must say, Bentley Continental. Oh, getting a power slide coming out the corner, laying some black lines down on the track. That's pushed him a little bit wider that he would like to be. This is the early part of the lap as well, so Shap making a little bit of a mistake so early into the race. It's qualifying, should I say. Be a little bit disappointed with that one, but he's still got time to recover some of that lap time back. Marco currently 7th, 1.182 away from the quickest time. He's got it all to do now in the big Bentley. Runs a little bit wide as well as we flick over to Alistair Reid in the Porsche 911 RSR. Beautiful car, the Porsche. Sound's got a very distinctive Porsche engine note from the exhaust pipes. And Alistair Reid here giving everything he's got in the last few moments of overtime in qualification. A little bit twitchy on the exit of the corner, but not too bad at all. Running on pretty decent line there. Power down nice and early, back across and into the pit lane, actually abandoned the lap. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. The grid has been set. And while we were looking at those cars, Peter Ambrose has popped in with the quickest time. So an interesting qualification. Sets us up quite nicely for the race. We've got a 5-minute break now while the drivers have a quick comfort break before starting the event, loading their race setups, setting their fuel setups. As I say, there's no mandatory pit stop in this race, but it will be impossible to finish the full event on a single tank of fuel. So drivers will either have to massively heavily fuel save, or they will have to come in for at least a single stop. Quite a short pit lane here at Silverstone, so not too much of a time loss for those that do come into the pit lane. As any seasoned Assetto Corsa Competizione driver will know, pit stops generally take 30 seconds for fuel and tyres. If you're changing things like brakes or repairing significant damage, that can obviously be greater. So there's no advantage to gain from coming into the pit lane and not changing tyres, trying to stretch them out for a stint. So I expect the vast majority of people will be stopping once. Traditionally, we see pit stops in and around the halfway mark. Often, Silverstone's quite a high tyre degradation causing circuit, so not a lot of benefit, I don't think. Although these tyres do run a long time, there's not a lot of benefit coming in early because your tyres will be more worn out towards the end of the race than your immediate rivals. So I expect stops around the 45-minute mark or so, depending on where people are in traffic. And 2 stop, I think maybe is a little bit of a stretch for these drivers, but we will see. Going to be a good race. I'm looking forward to it. If you're new to Race Department, new to RETV here on YouTube, please do give us a like and a subscribe. It's great to have you on board with us. We are an independent sim racing community. We're very proud to be hosting the AM Championship of the SRO Esports GT Series, starting this May 16th with the first round at this very circuit at Silverstone. We'll be broadcasting live on our Twitch Race Department channel, so do head over to Race Department on Twitch. Give us a sub. Make sure you don't miss out on any of the action, which I think will be quite spectacular, I would hope. Drivers across the world, amateur sim racing drivers, are currently qualifying. The qualification period ends on May the 10th. And then the 40 fastest drivers will be entering a 5-round series to decide who is the ultimate sim racing AM driver in Assetto Corsa Competizione. And of course, then winning the chance to potentially race in the grand finale against a host of real-world drivers and sim racing professionals. So, high-stakes championship. Highly looking forward to some announcements that we've got about that one, about the broadcasting team and about the array of, awesome prizes we've got to give away to not only the drivers, but also the viewers of our live streams as well. So we've got a brilliant selection of broadcast sponsors. We'll be giving away some very interesting and unique gifts, from racing cockpits to hot laps to sim racing apparel. We've got quite a bit of good stuff coming your way. So do stay tuned to racedepartment.com and Race Department Twitch as well, where you'll find more about that in the coming days. But that is the future. We are going back to what matters now, which is the race today. As you can see, Luca Burke, Will Stevenson, Kvylian, Mcgregor, Taplin, Shizze, Shap, Navon, Dush, Reid, Babin, Caitlin, Locklear, Zeko, Sara, Salaka, Silver, Jones, Townsend and Rowland round out our top 20 qualifiers. We'll be having a full formation lap because we like immersion here at Race Department. So a full formation lap for the drivers to warm their tyres and brakes before hitting out on a 90-minute semi-endurance spectacular here at the home of the British Grand Prix, a laser-scanned version of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit in Assetto Corsa Competizione. Now, quick, you may notice when you look at the cars, some of the drivers will be running liveries you're not too familiar with, I'm sure. That's because ACC has an in-game livery editor, and in this event, people are welcome to bring their own liveries to the grid, so we'll have a mix of real-world GT World Challenge liveries and teams, and a mix of community-created liveries from the in-game editor. Adds a little bit of variety, lets you put a little bit of personalization even, put my teeth into the game, and some of them are really, really nice, and some of them are very colourful. So do watch out for that one. We'll try and pick out some good ones as the race progresses. But I've raced a few of these events lately, and often 90 minutes sounds like it could turn into a procession. Very rarely does it. It's the incredibly intense racing experiences, and I'm sure this one will be the same. Again, speaking of custom liveries, you can see one there in the McLaren, I think that is. Yes, it is. Very a striking pink there from Cavillan, but yeah, it's a little bit of variety, a little bit of colour. The GT World Challenge Series cars do look beautiful, I must admit. The variety in this GT3 Championship is fabulous. There's 11 brands in total, so you've got big names like Porsche, Bentley, BMW, Ferrari, Audi, Lexus, Jaguar, McLaren that we've just seen, Aston Martin, my personal favourite, Nissan. We have a whole bunch of different manufacturers involved and private teams involved in this championship, and it makes for a great racing simulation. You can see the cars on track looking resplendent in Silverstone. The graphics of the sim are beautiful. The gameplay dynamics and physics are exceptionally well done by Kunos, who are the developers of this sim, and that allows us to have a really realistic, enjoyable and engrossing sim racing experience when we do these sorts of races. For you at home, just to give you an idea of some of the things that are going on in the background, we have got race control operated in this event. So we have live stewards. We have a couple of our race department staff, Mr. Paul Glover and Mr. Danny Montiero, providing race control duties. So they'll be looking out for any bad behaviour, which I'm sure won't be the case, and issuing penalties as and when they're deemed worth issuing. So if we get any that affect the running order of the race, I will let you know as we go through the 90 minutes ahead. Looking at Will Stevenson now in the beautiful Bentley there, blue and black, very attractive car. Bentley, an interesting choice, although Mcgregor and Stevenson are fourth and second respectively. The car is quick at Silverstone. It's good in a straight line. It's good over the curbs, which is important for the Maggots-Beckett's complex, the famous section of corners. You need a lot of curb there to be quick through that section of the lap. So an interesting choice from McGregor, and I'll be curious to see how a car that feels unnaturally large can perform against some of its more petite counterparts on the track. Alistair Reed in the, speaking of petite counterparts, Alistair Reed's Porsche 911, one of the finest cars there. And also need to mention, I interrupted myself, Ricardo, of course, Ricardo Umans is also performing race control duties for us in back office at home. We're remote, it's COVID-19, so we're doing this remotely, and we're looking forward to putting on a fair and exciting and intense 90 minutes of racing. The in-game time is 12:24 p.m, so it's early in the day. We have got a percentage calculator on the time, but we do expect this race to finish in daylight conditions. We have got variable weather. It's sunny, surprisingly, sorry, for Silverstone. The sun is shining on the virtual Silverstone, so I don't anticipate any rain as the race progresses, but you never know. One little curveball that the British summertime can throw into the mix, wouldn't be surprised at all. The cars now coming into the final section of the lap, starting to line up 2 by 2. We'll get a green light, hopefully, if the field are all in good order, coming over the start-finish straight to start off the Assetto Corsa Competizione Racing Club SRO Esports warm-up event powered by GT Omega. This is going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to seeing how our esport drivers managed to perform over the opening laps. Remember, these are Race Department Premium members. These are amateur drivers, the community representing sim racers from around the world. As we are looking for the green light, the gantry still red. Currently, Burke leads the field around in the Aston Martin. He'll be getting ready, keeping the car to the speed limit, waiting for that moment where the lights go green. Foot down, we've got a green light now. Fred Lockley has got a drive-through penalty, it seems, on the timing screen. Luca Burke is very much in danger of being overtaken by Stevenson round the outside. Stevenson hanging it into Cops Corner, keeping side by side, heading into the Maggots and Beckett's complex with Luca Burke. Stevenson on the inside now becomes the outside line. Burke keeps it tight, a little bit of contact between the two cars, but nothing too dramatic, and Will Stevenson jumps himself into the race lead between Luca Burke, who's now under pressure from Cavillion in the pink McLaren behind. Cavillion all the way up the rear of Luca Burke's car, getting the slipstream coming down behind the straight, looking to the outside now. Cavillion goes to the outside as Burke defends the inside into the corner, and he's got the racing line, but Cavillion carries plenty of speed there. A brave move, runs out of circuit. Luca Burke closes the door firmly. Cavillion decides better of it and now opens himself up to Ross McGregor on the inside. Cavillion's on the defensive into the chicane and just about retains third position in a frantic start to this excellent ACC club racing event. Meanwhile, Cavillion's excitement for seconds now allowed Burke, our provisional pole sitter, don't forget, to close right up the back of Will Stevenson's big Bentley. Luca Burke is not willing to give this one away as we go back to the fight for sixth position. That Shizzy going wide onto the AstroTurf, onto the runoff area, manages to rejoin the car circuit in a safe way, retains his fifth position, but no real road there for him to go, and does a good job to keep it. We have a spins in tandem. Two cars a little bit at the rear of the shot, span together in tandem. I don't think there was contact. I think it was very much a similar mistake from both. Though we've had a couple of drivers off the road, and Fred Lockley, who we're looking at for a moment there, has a drive-through penalty for a transgression at the start of the race. But shame for Lockley is so early into the event, and Alistair Reid being overtaken by one of the Aston Martins there. I think that was Taplin, I'm not quite sure, but Alistair Reid currently in fifth position, it's saying on there, which is actually sixth position in real time. So Alistair Reid being overtaken by Taplin ahead and is looking to try and regain that position. The Porsche, we know, is a little bit spicy in the opening laps of the race. So Reid, has got to spend a little bit of time getting the car settled in, bringing the tyres into life. You don't want to push too hard too soon as Fred Locklear goes in to serve his drive-through penalty for the start line transgression. And we're looking back, Luca Burke now, I'm not sure what's happened here, but Luca Burke, remember, who's on pole position, dropped a second and then was fighting hard with the race leader, has dropped back to 17th place. So disaster for Luca Burke, right in the thick of the traffic. Luca Burke must have made a mistake or got involved with a fight with Stevenson, who's 13th. So those two must have come together, unfortunately, in the opening couple of tours of this circuit. So Stevenson, just to recap, now in 12th position in the Bentley, Luca Burke in 16th. Both of them, we know, have got plenty of pace, but they've got a lot of work to do to find their way through the field. As Burke's thinking about a three wide, doesn't do it, gets past the Bentley, shows his nose to Jones in front of him in the Porsche. No room there, Sky in the Porsche. No room there. Luca Burke now in 15th place as Will Stevenson climbs up to 12th ahead, and that's a whole bunch of cars in front of Luca. So he's got a lot of work to do, but he's looking at it happen in the early parts of the race, so the field is not spread out too wide, as we see Stevenson now looking up the inside as a bit further up the field. And there is Jesse Rowland in the Audi. Jesse Rowland in 12th position at the moment, but under significant pressure from Payne in the Audi, whatever car it is, I've forgotten now because I've lost it off the street. But Jesse Rowland in that difficult position where does he attack or does he defend? He's got a lot of cars around him at the moment. So Jesse Rowland gapping a little bit the Honda behind as he continues his pursuit of silver in the Ferrari ahead. Although Rowland goes wide, that unfortunately puts off the, oh dear, there's three cars in the contact there. So Sky lost control of the car. We see Luca Burke in strife again on the inside of the circuit. Obviously had a bit of an off-track situation as Michele Esposito overtakes him. So Luca Burke in plenty of difficulty in his opening few laps of the race. That's dropped the pole sitter, remember, for this race way down the running order now. Nightmare for Luca Burke. 17th lost those places. He made back up at the initial recovery, and Luckenberg is having a very, very difficult opening few laps of this 1 hour and 30-minute race. So he needs to reset now, he needs to calm himself down. He knows he's got a lot of time to make, but you're not going to magically find 2 seconds a lap over what you're capable of. So just reset, calm down as he looks around the outside of the Bentley ahead, coming up the Hanger straight into the next turn. Luckenberg, a very difficult place for you to overtake there unless you've got significant overlap, which he does not, I don't think, or does he actually? The Bentley giving him a little bit of room as we go back to Graham Ritter now in the BMW and Opera there in the Audi. So Graham Ritter looking very much in the thick of things with 3 cars wide into the chicane. That's a very exciting bit of driving, but clean, fair from everybody involved, avoiding contact, and everybody gets through the lap as we see Castella in the Ferrari running a little bit wide and making contact with the car behind. So Castella running a little bit wider, making contact with Marsili behind in the sister Ferrari as it rejoins the circuit. A little bit spicy driving, but both drivers recover without too much issue. So I'm sure we'll continue along that fight as Marsili there goes for the dive bomb, misses his braking point completely, scavenging around on the outside curb, but manages to keep the inside as there's a stationary Aston and a spinning round Lexus, I think, getting back on the track. So Code Brown there for Marsili in the Bentley Continental GT3. An overtake, a run wide, a scramble across the curbs, and dodging 2 pirouetting cars, all in the space of about 3 seconds. So, yeah, that will have got your eyeballs on Stokes, if nothing else, as we see 2 Ferraris now passing each other. So that is the very interestingly liveried green and gold 666 Ferrari gets overtaken by the car in front. I think he was overtaken. I don't think he was defending there. He was overtaken by the car ahead. So another position dropped down to P23. To remind the audience at home, these drivers are fighting for the chances. We see actually now the Ferrari in front gets a little bit too enthusiastic on the loud pedal coming through Copse Corner, lays a couple of black lines down, opens the door into the first part of the Maggots and Beckett's complex, but has the inside, manages to try and keep it all together on the brakes, runs a little bit wide, goes on the curb, closes the door there. That's a little bit of a dangerous move and had to get out of the throttle behind, but survives the contact, and now under significant pressure from Castella in the third of 4 Ferraris. Castella's also got Steve Worrell in the 4th Ferrari for company behind, so these 3 separated by absolutely nothing as Worrell looks up the inside in the braking zone and manages to make the position. The door remains too wide open from Castella behind, and that allows the Aston Martin of Collingridge to find a way past as well, who goes for broke and gets Steve Worrell on the brakes into the chicane as well. So 2 places in 2 corners there for Collingridge. Great driving, but runs a little bit wide on the exit and allows Worrell in the red Ferrari to close back up again. There's nothing doing into this corner. It's a very fast, light touch of the brakes, right-hander, which is not going to happen there. Worrell thinks better of it, comes off the throttle, allows the position to concede and lives to fight another day. Currently in 25th position, made a few places up off his starting point, but a long way to go yet before he manages to find himself into the top 20. Steve Worrell not really done much sim racing of late, so good to see him back behind the virtual wheel again, and he's got basically an Aston Martin climbing over the top of him. So Sari in the black and luminous day glow, yellow or green, whatever it is, Aston Martin showing his nose up the inside. Worrell's aware of that one, gives him racing space, takes the wide line, will look to keep it tight on the apex, not drift wide, but meanwhile, the Porsche behind. So Tommy Sari looking to overtake Steve Worrell's actually opened the door for the Porsche of Hanks, I believe it is, to find a way past, but the Porsche's compromised on corner exit, coming into Copse Corner. Sari looks at the inside, the Porsche goes defensive. That's going to compromise his line into Copse, a very, very quick corner, downshift 1 gear, back on the throttle hard, running into the Maggots Beckett's complex. The Porsche of Sari manages to survive that one. I thought that was a dead cert to lose position, but he's managed to maintain the place, and that fight will, I am sure, continue for the immediate future. We've seen some blue flags there from one of the marshals, not quite sure what that one is in aid of, as Collingridge gets a drive-through penalty as well. Race Control are telling me that they under review cars 111 and 420 are under review, and there's a penalty for car number 55 for a drive-through for the first corner, and a drive-through for car 420 due to contact with car 411. Car 420 is Edwin Collingridge, and car 111 is Steve Worrell that we were looking at earlier. So Collingridge gets a drive-through penalty from our race control, currently in 22nd position. Got the Aston and the Ferrari make contact, light contact there as the Aston gets back on the circuit. Steve Worrell as well to hold on to that one down. Start finish straight, keeps his foot in, retains 23rd position, but that Aston Martin behind is looking hungry for the overtake on the Ferrari in front. Worrell a little bit late on the brakes, but recovery because this next corner is a left-hander. Very awkward first gear corner in these GT3 cars as we flick back to the front of the field. So Cavillan leading in the pink liveried McLaren GT3. Inherited the lead, if you remember, after we had a little bit of contact between Will Stevenson and the name has just gone out of my head. Yep, good driving there now, making advantage of that for Cavillan in first. Ross McGregor in the second Bentley, running in second position. Taplin had a quiet race so far in third. Shizzy in fourth. Catalin in fifth. And the car that's quietly been sneaking his way back up, another Bentley, Sharp in sixth. So actually we've got McLaren, Bentley, Aston, Bentley. So that seems to be the car to have at the moment, is the big Bentley. As I said at the beginning of the show, this is a fast car in a straight line. There are a lot of straight lines, a very quick circuit in Silverstone, and it's very gentle over the curbs, which is key to getting a fast lap around this circuit. So the Bentley coming to the fore so far, and this will be interesting learning. This will be good experience for the drivers who are looking to participate in the SRO Esports GT AM Championship on the 16th of May. We're racing the same cars on the same track, and it will be a very interesting piece of information to see exactly how quick this Bentley is proven to be so far in the race. But we're now looking at Nedim Zeko in the number 79 Porsche 911. Zeko is one of two Porsches at the forefront of the track. Alistair currently retains 7th place, just a couple of cars ahead of him. And Zeko is looking at closing down Will Stevenson, who's also looking to buy into a fight with Reed ahead. Will Stevenson had the incident earlier in the race when fighting for the provisional race lead in the opening portion of the race. So we know Stevenson has got pace. He dropped to 12th, if memory serves me correct, in the early going. So Stevenson, we know he's got front running pace. He's already made a couple of 3 places up in his recovery drive. He'll just be hoping that the tyres have stayed in good condition, that the car's not carrying any heavy damage, and his lap times suggest that he's maybe running in and around the pace that he needs to be. Stevenson's last lap was a 59.9, so he's still pretty much on the pace for a heavily fueled car. As we're looking at Michele Esposito now in the beautiful Aston Martin. Esposito chasing down Silva in the Ferrari ahead, coming through one of the finest sections of corners anywhere in the world of motor racing, real or virtual. The Maggots Beckett's complex, a beautiful section of corners in any car, slow or fast, and in these GT3 cars really dancing the car through that section on its tippy toes, wanting to break away from you any moment in time. You've got to manage the throttle, the steering inputs and the brakes to balance the car, take it over the curb to get the maximum run down the big long hanger straight. Very important for lap time and an absolute thrill in a real or virtual racing environment. One of the finest sections, as I say, of corners anywhere in the world. As we're going back now to Luca Burke, who's been doing a great impersonation of a yo-yo so far in this race, been at the front, the back, the middle, the front, the back, the middle again, and now he's looking at the Porsche in 9th position at the moment. So Luca Burke is looking to find a way past Zeko in the Porsche ahead. Burke, as I say, he's had a very dramatic opening portion of the race. He'll be a little bit cautious about the condition of his tyres, I am sure, but he's currently lightning quick. His last lap was the fastest lap, 158.917. So despite the traffic, despite the wear and tear that the car's undertaken so far in the race, and the fact that it's clearly being held up by Reed and Stevenson ahead of him, Luca Burke is very much the man on the move at this moment in time in the Speedy Mike Racing Aston Martin V8 Vantage. Burke has had a little bit of a moment there, so he's lost a little bit of time to the cars in front, starting to come under a little bit of pressure from Zeko in the Porsche behind, but I'm sure he's got enough lap time in hand. As you see already, he gets a massive run through Copse Corner in a Beckett's. Nowhere to overtake here. You've got to be a little bit careful as the downforce is taken away from the front of his car by chasing down the Porsche in front. So Luca Burke manages to keep it all nice and neat. He's very much quicker, monster in the curves, very neat and smooth and precise. Goes to the outside, coming into Stowe. This is a difficult place to pass. We've seen Burke try this on a number of occasions, but Alistair Reid is no fool, keeping the inside line will want to spot his braking points, but he's a little bit early on the brakes actually. Burke gets a great overlap, keeps his car now up, becomes the inside into the chicane, gives Reid no opportunity to close the door. Reid's now under pressure from the second Porsche behind, very close together, those two cars, but avoiding contact, thankfully, and that's a very nice overtake from Luca Burke, as Alistair Reid now under severe pressure from the sister Porsche behind. So Zeko, to see what Burke has managed to achieve, that will give him motivation that Reid's going to be a little bit phased by that one. He will lost a bit of rhythm. This is the opportunity for Zeko to take the overtake, but that fight is another one that I'm sure will continue as the race unfolds. Again, anybody new to Race Department on YouTube, hello everybody. Thank you very much for joining us on this Assetto Corsa Competizione club race powered by GT and Mega Racing. It's great to have you on board, and this is just a small taste of what's to come. Please do give us a like and a subscribe on our YouTube channel. Head over to Race Department on Twitch and give us a follow on there as well. Our Twitch channel is where you will see all the SRO Esport GT AM Championship action. We've got a big announcement to make about the broadcast team as we're seeing Payne throw the AMG Mercedes down the inside. The very interestingly, shall we say, liveried Honda saw that one coming very quickly, got out of the way and allowed David Jessett, in fact it was there in the AMG Mercedes, allowed Jessett the room that he needed. That was an Ayrton Senna mould of overtake. Put the car up the inside and a space will appear. Now, Nico Sky in the Porsche, another driver we've seen in a little bit of excitement earlier in the race, makes a lovely pass actually through Beck. It's a very unusual place to overtake, but Sky makes the move on the Bentley behind, so that's a good overtaking move on Jones. Ewan Jones ahead. Nico Sky moving himself up now into 14th position. Great driving from the driver there of the beautiful liveried car, as opposed to the garishly liveried car of Ewan behind. As well, looking now at Tomisari, 22nd position, all over the back of Smith in front. Sari actually makes the overtake, so Smith gets out of the throttle, I think, a little bit there, or does he just get a bad run through the corner? Maybe a bad run, actually. Sari on the outside. This seems to be a favourite overtaking manoeuvre. Very, very clumsy there from Tomisari. Closes the door when the car was still in the middle of the road. Sari needs to adhere to the Race Department Racing Club golden rule and let the car pass that you have fouled if there's been an accident. So Tomisari, a little bit disappointing, clumsy driving there from Tomisari. I'm sure the stewards will be taking a look at that one in due course. And speaking of stewards, I've just been informed that car number 720 has been investigated. So that's Simon Tribick in 33rd position. It's been investigated, but there is no penalty being applied to Simon. So good work there, as always, from Race Control, as we're on board now with Tomisari again up the inside of Smith in the Ferrari. Does he have the corner? No, he does not. Smith closes the racing line down. Sari will be looking to get into the slipstream, but is he close enough to make a move into the one of the bigger braking points around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit? No, he is not. And the Ferrari in front is aware that the Aston Martin is there, covers the racing line quite nicely, early on the brakes, keep it to the inside of the track, give him nowhere to overtake, try and get a good run out of Woodcote down the former start-finish straight at Silverstone and into another lap. We're looking at Taplin now. That's a very nice Aston Martin. I'm sorry, I'm a bit of a livery fan. I often comment on people's liveries for better or for worse, so that will probably get boring quickly, and I apologise for that one. But I'm an Aston Martin fan as well, and that one is a particularly good-looking V8 Vantage from Taplin. Currently in third position, 6.8 seconds away from the race lead. Cavillan actually is only leading by 2.8 from Ross Mcgregor in the Bentley. So Taplin currently in third place, having a hard time defending from Shizzy in the fellow Aston Martin behind. So these two, third and fourth even, I can't count. Third and fourth separated by very, very little on the racetrack. It will be very much a case now, I think, from Shizzy. Looks like he's got a little bit more pace than Taplin in front. It was 4/10 quicker on the last tour of the circuit. So he'll be showing his nose in a few corners, making the Aston Martin big in the mirrors of the car in front, trying to force Taplin into some kind of mistake, a little bit of a late braking move and overrunning one of the corners, force open a door without making contact, of course. And these two, very evenly paced, both clean drivers, both experienced drivers, I'm sure. So this is going to be difficult. The cars are identical apart from setup, fuel load and tyre wear, of course. So no particular advantage in any one part of the circuit for either driver. But the big advantage that Shizzy in fourth has is slipstream. There's a lot of fast corners at Silverstone. There's a lot of long straights, one of which we're coming to now as Will Stevenson is in the pit lane. I'm not quite sure what that one is for, but Will Stevenson is heading down pit road, one of our former race leaders coming in. Maybe this is an early stop. Maybe it's a technical issue with his car or with the game. I'm not quite sure, but Will Stevenson drops from 11th position, an early stop, the first of the stoppers in this race apart from penalties. And speaking of penalties, Race Control informed me that we're reviewing car number 979 and 27, reviewing car 181 for incident with car 797, and reviewing car 20 for an incident with 187. So Race Control busy, making sure everybody's behaving themselves out on circuit. If anything comes of those reviews, I will let you know in due course. But meanwhile, Stevenson remains on pit road. He's lost his pit lane marker, so I suggest he's coming back out of the racetrack. So this could very well be a quick change of boots, some more fuel based on the incidents he's had earlier in the race. Perhaps the car's not quite balanced as he needs it to be, but that's disappointing for Stevenson. He's come out in 28th position, but he does have a little bit of clean air to the cars in front. So maybe Stevenson's looking to get his head down now, use some of that natural pace and bring himself back into contention when the cars ahead start making their pit stop in what I would anticipate would be about 20 to 25 minutes time. Feels like the natural point when cars will start visiting pit road, depending of course on many varieties: driving style, tyre wear, track position, damage, etc. But an interesting strategy choice there by William Stevenson, and we'll keep our eye on that one as the race unfolds. Let's see if that works or that pays dividends for Stevenson in the Bentley. Remember, he was in 11th place when he came down pit road. As Blazczak now up the inside in the Lexus. Not seen many Lexus cars on circuit today, but Blazczak, great guy, lovely guy to talk to, and a regular in the ACC Racing Club. Moves his way up to 21st position, makes the pass on the Ferrari behind, but is vulnerable to an overtake in the braking zone. Not enough of an overlap for Steve Worrell behind. Worrell, a couple of positions made since the last time we saw him on broadcast. Worrell 22nd, 25th, I think, last time we saw him. So Steve Worrell now lost a position to Blazczak ahead, but will be looking to follow the car in front, see if it can pick a little bit of pace up as they're both challenging the Ferrari in front. Riding on board now, beautiful sounding car is the Lexus. A very compliant car as well, one of the more sedate vehicles in Assetto Corsa Competizione. He has a good natural balance, good in the corners, doesn't excel anywhere in particular, but is just generally good across the board, and not the outright quickest car, even though a balance of performance has been applied in both real and virtual worlds. Not the outright fastest car in the field, but a very, very strong choice. One of my personal favourites for sure, and a very strong choice in a race that runs 90-minute duration, such as this one. You want a car that does what you expect it to do. You don't want any bizarre surprises. And Blazczak seems to be using that one to good effect. He's made up some pace. He's not the ultimate quickest one-lap pace. If his qualifying performance is anything to go by, but race pace, he's doing everything he needs to do to position himself into a good position in the race. As we're looking back, well, to two McLarens, then one in 30th, and this one right at the very head of the field. So Kvillin has now stepped up the pace. He's 3.3 seconds ahead of Ross Mcgregor. Ross Mcgregor, as we said before, a very fast driver, so to have gapped by 3.3 seconds so early, we're only 30 minutes, believe it or not, almost into the race, is a very, very good performance by the McLaren. So Kvillin doing a sterling job at the front of the field, and here's somebody who's been doing great jobs and then awful jobs, almost lap after the other. Luca Burke now in 6th. Tremendous recovery by Luca Burke and the Aston Martin, closing down on Schaap in the Bentley in front. He's got armfuls more pace than the big green British Bentley ahead. Luca Burke has been almost in every single position in the field so far in this race, but a valiant effort to get himself back into 6th position at the moment. It looks, there's an air of inevitability about it, that's going to become 5th in the non-too-distant future, as Luca Burke is monstering the back of that huge Bentley in front. There'll be no room pass into this corner unless you're a very brave or foolish or a mix of both. But Luca Burke thinks about it, shows his nose, putting the Bentley of Schaap under pressure, letting him know that he's there, letting the Bentley think, looking in his mirrors more than through his front windshield. Luca Burke seems to be good on the brakes. The car's obviously not suffering any adverse effects from the beating that it's taken so far in the first 30 minutes of this race, and Marco Schaap is under severe pressure now in the Bentley. So Luca Burke's done a great job to recover himself into 6th. He's got Schaap in front and then another 7.2 seconds behind P4 ahead of him. So at the pace he's going, excuse me, Luca Burke has got all the hallmarks of having a good race result if he continues for the next hour and 3 minutes and change. As I see on the timing screens, actually, Ewan Jones, currently 13th in the Bentley, has received a drive-through penalty. So Ewan Jones will very soon be dropping further down the order, and that's further good news for the Will Stevenson early stop in Bentley, currently in 27th position. So Stevenson, the first of the front runners to make a stop here, and look how much faster that Aston Martin is in a straight line from the Bentley. Had to come off the throttle a little bit into the Beckett's Maggotts complex to avoid contacting the rear of the Bentley in front. So Luca Burke has got all the hallmarks of being able to put a pass, on the Bentleys. I think we're also getting into the territory, starting to lap the first back markers. As actually the Bentley's run really wide, so it's missed his braking point in the corner. That's opened a door up for Luca Burke. He's on the outside into the chicane, so there's nothing doing there. Will he make the switch back on the inside? No, he will not. He keeps the car there. The Bentley dies down the inside of the back marker. Great driving there from the blue Ferrari, actually, to avoid impeding the two cars in front. That's fantastic performance in traffic from the blue Ferrari. Well done there. Kept it well out of the way. Didn't lose too much time himself. Didn't negatively impact this brewing fight between the Bentley and the Aston Martin V8 Vantage for 5th position on the grid. This is one of the more intense fights that we've got going, as Luca Burke looks down the inside, makes the most of the Bentley, compromises. It has to go tight into the difficult left-hander in first gear. The Bentley doesn't quite get the run that he wants, but he's safe because this is a flat-out left-hander even. So the Aston Martin gets straight back into the slipstream, starts showing its nose for the inside of the next section of corners. The Bentley thinks about going across and defending, thinks better of it, leaves the door wide open actually, and that's an Aston Martin size hole which Luca Burke takes full advantage of, puts the car past, and in the end makes a very safe, very fair and very clean overtake on Marco Schaap, who drops down to 6th position in the Bentley, and Luca Burke makes up another place, currently in 5th. Good driving from both drivers there, and that's exactly what we expected Luca Burke to do. Put pressure on the car in front. Rather than force the issue, find a gap through showing your nose up the inside. Did exactly that. Into the place and off on his pursuit now, 6.2 seconds in the rear of P4 ahead. somebody who's in significantly more pressure now than the newly fifth place Luca Burke is Fernando Silva in the Ferrari here. Fernando is the Ferrari meat in a 4-car sandwich at the moment. He's got himself a bit of a dilemma. Does he charge ahead and try and get past the Aston in front, or does he defend from Payne in 16th place behind? This is one of the most nerve-wracking positions a race car driver can find himself in. It's one of these ones where if you make an overtake, you've got to make it stick. You've got to be positive about it. You've got to be sure that the pass will pull off. Otherwise, you'll compromise yourself and lose a further place. As Silva really monstering the curves. They're very, very fast over the last part of the complex. Gives himself a good run on the Aston in front, but actually is now under pressure from the Honda NSX behind. So Payne looking up the inside into Stowe, corner famous where Michael Schumacher broke his leg, of course, in 1999, and Silva manages to retain the position from Payne behind. But race control tell me they're reviewing an incident at the moment between cars 27 and 75. So Sare in 27 and car number 75, which is Jermaine Schmidt. So I'll let you know how that one comes on should any penalties be handed out. And looking on the timing screen, you can see that Sky has a drive-through. Marcelli in 18th, SG10, that means a 10-second stop and go penalty in 18th. So that's a very harsh time loss for Marcelli. I'll be very disappointed to find that one. Currently 18th, doing well in the race is Michele Esposito in the Mercedes, not at all, in the Aston Martin, chases down Jessert, who we saw make the very big dive bomb. Close your eyes, hope for the best, overtaking move earlier in the race. It looks like Esposito is not willing to give this one up yet. He's continuing to pile the pressure on that AMG Mercedes in front. Esposito, let me tell you now, guys, if there's guys and girls, if there's somebody watching at home that's new to sim racing, that's new to esports, and think it's just a case of sitting down behind the steering wheel and pedals and pretending to be a race car driver, it's a very relaxing hobby. I'll tell you now, it is not. These drivers are concentrated, they'll be stressed, they'll be pressured, they'll be giving their absolute everything. And you finish a 90-minute race, although it's not as physically challenging as a real-world motorsport race, you will be worn out and mentally and physically from driving on the absolute limit for 90 minutes, for an hour and a half, without blinking, in close competition, driving as quickly as you are capable, your car is capable of doing. It's a thrill unlike any other, and it is physically exhausting. So these guys, I can't stress enough what a good performance we're seeing from pretty much throughout the field. Remember, these are not esport professionals, these are not real-world drivers, these are race department premium members who've signed up to our Assetto Corsa Competizione racing club, which is events hosted by the community for the community. Anyone can take part as a race department premium member, and we've got some great talents, speeds and skills throughout the spectrum of performance. Anyone can join, and come and join us for a future event. This is not particularly special behaviour we're seeing here. This is the quality that you see all the time with the racing club, and as I say, I've done a few events myself and they've been nothing short of absolutely thrilling. Right, I've been informed by race control that car number 7, Marcelli, has been given a 10-second stop and go for unsafe rejoin. So he's gone off the circuit, come back on and taken 2 cars out, avoidable contact. So Marcelli currently 18th place, 10-second stop go penalty. That explains why that one is. And car number 27, which is Tommy Sare, in 16th place, has been given a drive-through for avoidable contact with Jermaine Smith. So, Sarah, drive-through penalty, avoidable contact. Great work from the race control team. Again, keeping an eye on everything that's happening with 50 cars on the track. That is not a particularly easy task. I don't envy them one bit. So, great work from race control again. making sure everybody's behaving themselves in what's been, so far, an absolutely thrilling, I'm going to be hoarse by the time this one's finished, an absolutely thrilling event as we look at the race leader looking to put a lap on the Ferrari. So Kvillin continue having a clean race up front, keeping everything under control, keeping calm, keeping control of his tyres, his fuel usage. He'll be managing the car now. He's keeping the gap to Mcgregor in and around the 3 to 3.5 second mark. And Kvillin will be thinking now about pit stop strategy. He will have to stop, but at what point he chooses to do so will be very much dependent on driver preference. So we'll keep our eye on that one, see when the first of the true front runners looks to jump down pit road. We already have had a fast driver come down pit lane, and that's been William Stevenson, who, if you remember, came out 28th position, stopped about 15 minutes or so ago. Will Stevenson now up to 20th place and only 3 seconds behind Salaka in 19th. So Stevenson making the most of those new boots and his natural pace in the Bentley as he starts to claw back some of the deficit that he's found himself in thanks to one or two incidents throughout the course of the race so far. Believe it or not, guys and girls, it's been 35 minutes already and it's been a non-stop frantic affair. We hope you're enjoying the broadcast. I will say again, if you're new or even if you've been here before, please do drop us a like and a subscribe on YouTube and Twitch. We've also got the Race Department podcast, which is available on all podcast providers of choice, hosted by one of the chaps doing race control, Mr. Paul Glover. I'm also a guest on there, as well as a couple of the other Race Department teams. So please do have a listen to the Race Department podcast as we see Tommy Sari coming down pit road for his drive-through penalty now. Sari will not have to stop at the box, of course. It will be a case of putting the pit limiter on, keeping it under 50. Be careful not to get a drive-through penalty, and that will clear on the timing screens. He served his punishment and will back out a little bit held up, a little bit further down the field, but 54 minutes still on the clock. Sari's got time to recover himself before the race comes to a conclusion. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of this broadcast, these drivers are racing not only for fun, not only for the privilege of having an enjoyable Assetto Corsa Competizione online race in a friendly, relaxed and fun environment, but they're also winning or aiming to win the prize from our broadcast sponsor, GT Omega Racing. The Wheel Stand Classic is up for grabs. It's one of many prizes kindly donated by GT Omega for this event and the upcoming SRO Esport GT AM Championship. For this particular event, we're offering this out to just the drivers, but for future broadcasts for both drivers and spectators on our live stream on Twitch, there will be an array of awesome prizes to be won. You don't have to be the fastest driver, and you don't have to even be competing in the race. All you need to do is tune in to the broadcast to be in with a shout of winning some really cool stuff. We've got an array of broadcast sponsors lined up. We're very proud to have some awesome brands that we're working with for this new series. So stay tuned to racedepartment.com and stay tuned to us on YouTube and Twitch in the coming days and weeks as we tell you the many different ways that you can get yourself a beautifully exciting little reward as we see Sari now, fresh out of his drive-through penalty, looking up the inside of Will Stevenson. Stevenson was aware of what was happening, manages to stay out of the way, and that was good driving from Stevenson to be so aware of Sari's ambitious lunge up the inside, and both drivers survive that one. Stevenson retains 18th position, which he overtook Sari on the exit of pit lane while I was telling you about the various social media activities at RD. So Stevenson is having a solid comeback. Will he have to stop again? I'm not sure how the fuel consumption of the big Bentley stands. I don't know whether he'll have enough juice to make it to the end of the race. His tyres will be worn, but are physically capable of doing the race duration. Without any doubt, brakes will absolutely be fine, even on the number one setting, the qualification sprint race setting. So it's all down to fuel. Will Stevenson try and stretch it out, maybe do a little bit of fuel saving, change his engine map to suit the fuel consumption of the car, or will it go for a little splash and dash further into the race? The time delta loss on pit road is not massive at Silverstone, but of course you're stationary for 30 seconds. So if Stevenson can avoid it, he will. Asari behind him is using all the racetrack and a little bit of the grass as well in his efforts to find a way past the Bentley ahead. Asari on older tyres than Stevenson. I don't think he's been down pit road for a pit stop yet, so Stevenson should theoretically be quicker at this stage with newer boots on the car. A little bit more fuel, but that's not significant in a short-ish length race such as this one. But at the moment, it looks like Sari has more pace than the Bentley in front, which is quite surprising and not something I would have expected going into the race. So Will Stevenson, not what he needs at this juncture. Stevenson needs clean air. Stevenson needs to be able to concentrate on his outright pace as he looks to recover time, track position and yardage on the cars in front of him following some altercations and excitement earlier in the event. Solaka is the next car up in 16th place, 2.8 seconds in arrears is Will Stevenson at the moment, so he needs to make a decision at this point. If Sari is so much quicker than him, let him go. Don't waste time defending and losing time. Let him go and concentrate on your own pace and get into that checkered flag as quickly as you can, because we are very close, folks, now to where I would expect the first of the normal time pit stops to start taking place. 45 minutes is the halfway bell in this 90-minute race, and that's roughly when people start to think about a pit stop. You can stretch it out further than that, of course, but traditionally we start looking around this period. As I speak, Mirko Sky comes in the Porsche, beautiful Gulf livery Porsche, one of the most iconic and stunning colour schemes in the whole wide world of motorsport, both real and virtual. Mirko Sky jumps in from 16th place for his first, not traditional, should I say, first expected pit stop of the race event. Jermaine Salt, Smith Heaver that we're looking at now, involved in an incident earlier in the race that required a drive-through penalty for his competitor. So Jermaine managing to keep on the track, kept the car in good condition, currently running, it says 19th on the timing stack, but in reality that is 18th position on the circuit. Jermaine Smith being a little bit quiet so far, but having a good race nonetheless, keeping it clean, keeping it safe. And somebody who's not having a quiet race is Tommy Sari, once again in the Aston Martin, finding ways to merge the Aston Martin into the Bentley to create some kind of hybrid limousine. Is that close to the back of the massive car in front, shows his nose at the inside. Will Stevenson is a wily competitor, he's not going to fall for that one, keeps his racing line. And Tommy Sari, you sense a little bit of frustration in the body language of the car now. Sari's been aggressive in his movements, showing his nose in places where realistically an overtaking opportunity is not open to the driver. Tommy Sari's starting to get a little bit flustered. He's going to need to keep calm, not do anything ridiculous, not throw the car up into a gap that doesn't exist and end up taking both drivers out of the race. I'm sure he won't do. I'm sure he's calm enough in the virtual cockpit there not to do something as foolish as that one. But we've all been there, folks, every one of us, both on the real tracks and the virtual tracks. When you've got more pace but just cannot find a way past the car in front, it starts to become a little bit frustrated. You start looking at gaps that don't necessarily exist, and I fear that's what's happening with Tommy Sari. He knows if he can clear Silverstone, he's on Silverstone, if he can clear Stevenson ahead, he can start making inroads to Solaka in front. Stevenson's dropped back, but because of this fighting, has dropped a further 2/10 away from Solaka now. So Tommy Sari, Will Stevenson holding each other up a little bit, and Sari will be desperate to find his way past. Race control, by the way, informed me that car number 961 has received a drive-through penalty. So that's Jason Lloyd, currently in 40th position. Jason Lloyd receives a drive-through penalty for an incident between himself and car number 34. So drive-through penalty for Jason Lloyd for contact or an incident with Alex Townsend. Stevenson now must be getting a little bit frustrated. What does he do? Does he allow the car past? Very difficult for a racing driver to allow a car pass, or does he continue fighting and risk losing? He's lost a further 0.3 of a second to Salaka ahead of him, but some traffic is now coming in the midst as Alistair Reid in 7th position is on pit road. So as we said at the 45-minute mark, Alistair Reid comes in for his scheduled fuel and tyre change, one of the first of the real front runners. Reid dropping down the order as you would expect. Kvillin remains front 3.3 seconds ahead of Ross Mcgregor behind, but Alistair Reid first of the real front runners to come down pit road as Will Stevenson 16th place. He was one of the early stoppers. Stevenson, we know, has got the speed, but doesn't have track position at the moment. This moment in time, his pace is slow at the moment, so Will Stevenson needs to up his game, although he seems to have gapped Sari behind. So whether Sari has made a mistake as Michele Esposito comes down pit road now, as we predicted, in or around the 45-minute mark is when the majority of the pit stops tend to take place. So Michele Esposito looking to take advantage of some new boots in this 90-minute race, and let me tell you now, coming out of pit road on brand spanking new tyres is one of the most satisfying experiences after driving 45 minutes on old rubber. You think you've got plenty of grip, you put new tyres on, and it's just like the car is transformed as we look at Fernando Silva in 11th position, putting a lap on the blue Ferrari. A nice looking Ferrari, actually, that is the blue one. Very simple but effective paint scheme there. And Fernando Silva in a bit of no man's land at the moment as the leaders come down pit road. So that's Kvillin in second, has come down pit road for his mandatory, well, not mandatory, sorry, but his first and probably only pit stop of the day. That promotes Taplin into second position and Ross Mcgregor into the race lead. So Mcgregor currently leads but has yet to stop. Taplin second, Shizzy in third, Luca Burke now elevated to fourth position, but again these drivers have yet to stop, so these will all change. We've now got to the fascinating part of the race where it's not just the action on track we need to keep an eye on, but it's also the lap times and the gaps of the drivers that are racing at various parts of track position. Kvillin looks like he's going to come out. He's done really well, actually. He's managed to create a gap between himself and currently 7th place Navon. So Kvillin's got clean air. He's got nobody behind him. He's got 6-7 seconds to the car in front as well. Kvillin made a very fortuitous or well-planned time pit stop there. He can use his natural speed, use the new tyres on his McLaren to best effect, and he'll be looking to perform an undercut on Ross Mcgregor. The undercut can be a powerful tool at the right track in the right combination of circumstances. So Kvillin, we saw, had about a 3.3 second lead when he came down pit road. It'll be interesting to see if that has extended or reduced when the order shuffles itself back out again a little bit later on in the race. McGregor going long now in the Bentley, hoping to get himself a little bit of breathing room, a little bit of real estate even with the cars around. As I say that, actually, commentators curse Ross Mcgregor comes down pit road and makes a liar of me by stopping in the current race leader. So McGregor is the one that we're looking at. Kvillin was his immediate rival. Kvillin had a 3.2 second lead over the Bentley at pit stop time. Kvillin's had 3/4 of a lap on brand new tyres compared to McGregor on his original race set of tyres, starting of the race set of tyres. This is the time where I always make a mistake when I know I've got to push on my in and out lap. So Kvillin's looking to be fast but clean, getting used to the new dynamic of the car underneath him with fresh boots on as he powers now through Woodcock Corner. McGregor's got a little bit of traffic on pit road. The ghosting is infected in ACC, so you can't make contact down pit road. That is a sim feature, and that's good news for Ross McGregor. Otherwise, he would have been in a world of hurt there. And Kvillin crosses pit exit, and I think he's very much got the advantage over Ross McGregor. So Kvillin currently sits in 5th place. McGregor comes out 7th. They're separated by Jesse Rowland, who's not made a stop yet, but the gap between Kvillin's will let the timing screens just sort themselves out a little bit of a delay on the on-screen one, but the live timing that I've got here suggest that Cavillan has stretched his advantage by a couple of tenths of a second, but more importantly, has put a car between those two drivers. So at this moment in time, Jesse Rowland is the outlier, not stopped yet, and separates Cavillan from the chasing Ross McGregor behind. Meanwhile, of the non-stoppers up front, that allows Luca Burke, the human yo-yo, the driver who's occupied every position on the track, it seems, so far in the first portion of this race. Luca Burke is now second. He needs to make a stop. Of course he does, but he's still showing significant pace in that Aston Martin. So Luca Burke, fuel permitting, will look to try and stretch this out a little bit if he can, create himself some clean air. He will have an on-screen display that shows him gaps to the cars around him, so he'll be furiously trying to work out when the optimum time is to come down pit road and come back out in fresh air and make use of some of that prodigious pace that he has aboard that Aston Martin, and try and charge while he make up some of the real estate lost with the earlier shenanigans that this car has been through so far in the race. And Jesse Rowland, that's the car we were talking about now, has been passed by Ross McGregor. So McGregor used those fresh boots to good advantage, very quickly dispatched the old tyre shod Jesse Rowland Audi R8, and McGregor is now continuing his chase for what is the virtual lead, although currently it's 4th, 5th and 6th as Navon finds himself in the middle of the two potential race leader sandwiches. So Ricardo Navon currently in 6th position, I think. No, I tell a lie. Currently in 5th position between who will become our race leader, Cavillan, in 4th, as Navon actually jumps down pit road. So that's great news. That clears the track for Ross McGregor. And we said earlier, didn't we, that McGregor had a 3.2 second deficit. That undercut has obviously worked very, very well for Cavillan. Indeed, that gap has expanded somewhat between the two cars. So Ross McGregor got a little bit more to do than he did previously, but it should be a clean run for the final 40 minutes to the flag. Of the non-stoppers, Taplin remains in race lead, although Luca Burke is currently the holder of the fastest lap of the race. Out of curiosity, Luca Burke on a 1:58.917 is the current fastest lap from earlier in the event. 24 laps have been completed. Tapping our race leader and Luca Burke as well, I believe. So our two race leaders come down pit road. There will be no faster or slower pit stops here. 30 seconds is the mandatory stop time unless you make significant changes to your car. So these drivers should exit as they entered pit lane. I've just been told as well by race control that car number 7 has received a stop and go, 30-second stop and go penalty for driving standards. So car number 7 received a 30-second stop and go penalty for driving standards, and that is, I am just looking down the list of cars who number 7 is, and that's Marcelle in the Bentley. So car number 7, 30 seconds, a significant amount of time, currently 18th. That will no doubt drop him well out of contention. But from a prize giving point of view, you need to finish. You've got to be in it to win it. So obviously the higher up you get, the more tokens you will get, which gives you more chances to be drawn out of the virtual hat. But still, even if you finish 10 laps behind in last position, you will still be entered in the prize draw. So there is everything to play for. It's not rewarding the absolute aliens of the race. Everybody gets a good shake of the stick in order to win our GT Omega Wheel Stand Classic that we've got on offer for this SRO Esport warm-up event in the Assetto Corsa Competizione Racing Club here at Race Department. I said it before and I'll say it again, give us a like and subscribe on YouTube and Twitch if you can. That would mean the world to us. And stay tuned on the website for more news about many exciting things up and coming about the SRO Esport GT AM Championship, a category that we are very excited to bring to you starting this May the 16th, as we see Ricardo Navon having more than a little bit of excitement there coming through Copse Corner. Got a little bit caught out by the pace of Sari ahead, had to apply the brakes, got a little bit of the rear end action going, but managed to control the silver Aston Martin nicely, stayed on circuit and lives to find another day, but that would have been an eye-opener. That would have woken him up if he needed waking up. Because when you see an Aston Martin GT3 car appear in front of you a lot faster than you anticipate in a high-commitment corner like that one, it's you have only fractions of a second to react to it before you're heading straight to the scene of the accident. So good driving there from Riccardo Navon to avoid rear-ending the Tomisari Aston Martin in front, and this fight for the top 10 continues between these two cars. 36 minutes and change left on the clock. The rear is very loose on that Navon Aston Martin. New boots on the car, of course, so maybe a little bit more oversteer than anticipated before. Looks around the outside. The outside comes the inside into this corner, a very awkward corner here. Does the other Aston see him coming? He's aware they give each other space, very close, nothing asked, nothing given between the two cars, and Navon goes through to secure the position and moves himself into the top 10 at the expense of Tomisari, who's looking to try and find a way back again. Can he recover the position? No, he cannot. He gets back onto the racing line, tries to calm himself down again, has a little think how he can re-attack Riccardo Navon in front. Some great driving there, looking on the outside of the first part of the section of corners that gives him the inside, getting himself firmly onto the apex, and nowhere for Tomisari to go, who now jumps down pit road. So Tomisari obviously had enough of the tyres on the Aston Martin. Besides, that's a fight he cannot win, as if by magic goes through the other car in the pit lane, and Tomisari comes in for a new set of boots, which will drop him further down the order, of course, but in the next 35 and a half minutes, he will have the ultimate opportunity to showcase that raw pace within the Aston Martin and start recovering through the field. We're looking at Marco Schaap now in P6. Marco's been in and around this position for pretty much the duration of the race, and to be fair to him, looks like he's having a pretty quiet time now. There's a significant gap to 5th in front. David Jessett in the Torpedo AMG Mercedes behind is a further 1.5 away, so no real immediate pressure from the car behind at this moment in time. So it's a case of keeping it clean. Fred Locklear, a driver that's suffered the wrath of the stewards earlier in the race, is doing a good job to recover to 20th position so far. BMW, not necessarily the most popular of choices in AC online club racing that I've seen up to press, but Locklear doing a solid job so far. The Roa Racing liveried car, beautiful looking car once again, as he gets lapped by Alistair Reed in the Porsche number 88. So Alistair Reed, another driver that's been in the heart of some exciting moments so far in this race. Currently 8th position, holding station. Again, another driver that's got no pressure in front, no pressure behind. Just a case of stroking the car home now for the last 35 minutes or so of the race, trying to keep things clean, trying to keep things under control at the head of the field. And speaking of the head of the field, Cavilian is now 8.5 seconds away, in front, should I say, of Ross McGregor. Taplin is 3rd, and Luca Burke is nothing short of a bit of enthusiasm away from Taplin in 4th place. So Burke half a second away from being stepping onto the provisional podium. Luca Burke has drove like a demon, lowered the fastest lap of the race so far to a 58.7, which is great race pace from Luca Burke in the Aston, really giving absolutely everything in this car as he tries to recover from his earlier incidents. I'm sure you'll remember Burke has been dropped all the way outside the top 10 at one stage, 16th I think it was, if memory serves, but has recovered like a demon, been on the absolute limit of adhesion throughout the race, put some impressive overtaking manoeuvres on the cars in front, and now he's looking to line up Taplin in the fellow Aston Martin V8 Vantage. Luca Burke looking one side, looking the other, trying to put the Aston ahead under pressure, filling the mirrors of the car. This is the key in motorsport. Just get the driver in front of you to be looking more in his mirrors, reacting to what you're doing, and not concentrating on his ultimate lap pace, not concentrating on keeping his lines neat, focusing on what's going on behind him, often you can force a driver into a mistake, either a big one and an easy pass or a small one and get the overlap. This is exactly what Burke's trying to do now, put him under pressure in Maggots and Beckett's where there's definitely no room realistically to overtake, but hope the driver in front compromises his exit, get a slipstream up the long hanger straight. Taplin knows what's happening, goes to the inside to defend, only gives the outsiders a realistic option, although there is an Aston Martin size hole at the inside, but Burke is a little bit too far back, although better on the brakes and carrying more speed in the middle of the corner, looking for a gap up the inside that does not exist, goes to the outside of the chicane. This will become the inside if these two can avoid making contact, which they can. Be careful of the big sausage curb there. Luca Burke on the inside of that corner, a very, very dangerous place to have your car, but Burke is well aware of what's happening around him and decides against doing that one, as there's a very slow Bentley there. Whether that's the car being lapped, whether that was Ross Mcgregor, I'm not quite sure, but that was a very nervous moment there. Burke will not have seen that car in front of him, obscured obviously by the car that he is chasing, and both get through cleanly, but that would have been an attention-grabbing moment for both drivers. I am absolutely certain as Taplin retains third position, heading into almost the final 30 minutes of this race. Non-stop action throughout the field. Big, big, big congratulations go out to all the drivers taking part here. We've seen some fabulous racing across the board, some great overtaking, some very gentlemanly and respectful racing. This is the kind of thing we love at Race Department, and these are the kind of events we like to run on a regular basis. So if you haven't already, if you're stumbling across this on YouTube and weren't expecting to be tuning into a virtual motor race, but you've seen it and thought, yes, I'd like a piece of that action, please visit us at www.racedepartment.com. Check out the calendar icon, see what we've got upcoming, get your name down and come join us for some real good fun. Great people, great environment, beautifully organised races, and fair and clean for all different skill levels. So come and join us. It'd be great to see you out on track, as Luca Burke now is looking as close as he has ever looked coming into Stoke Corner. Nothing doing there. The Taplin defends the inside. Luca Burke goes to the outside. He's got a good run this time. Taplin's going to know he's there, gives him a little bit of racing room, but not quite enough to keep his car there. Go again, defensive to the inside, into the chicane, manages to get the car slowed down, keeps it on the racing line. Good driving there from Taplin. Doesn't overcook it, doesn't overpressurise himself, keeps a neat exit, gets a good run out of the corner, manages to retain position, and that, actually, ladies and gentlemen, that is a fantastic piece of driving there from Taplin. Really good driving to defend the position without losing too much speed, as David Jessup in 8th position in the AMG Mercedes comes down pit road. So Jessup, I believe, does not have a penalty, is not carrying any penalties, so this is a fuel and tyre stop from David Jessup. Very quick stop there for the AMG Merc, and he looks to rejoin the circuit. I think he should just about get out in 8th position. Stevenson a little bit too far, 9th position, sorry. Stevenson a little bit too far away to capitalise. And on Will Stevenson watch, while we're on that subject, he's managed to bring the Bentley up into 9th position so far. So Will Stevenson recovering the undercut that he tried, the early stop he tried, has sort of paid off for the Bentley, but these last 28 and a bit minutes will be a little bit of a nervous time for Will Stevenson, as his tyres are considerably heavier used than the cars around him. So let's see if he can continue to make progress through the field, or he may start dropping back a little as his tyres reach the edge of a cliff. They shouldn't go off the edge of a cliff a la Formula 1 and Pirelli, but they will be significantly less grippy than the cars around him, as Luca Burke now much neater through the end of the best of its complex, gets alongside Taplin, much sooner than has been the case before. There's a Porsche ahead that they're looking to put a lap on, so that car might start getting into the mix a little bit. Taplin is aware of this move from Burke now. Burke's tried it the last 2 or 3 laps, expertly defends the inside. The Porsche gets well out of the way, pretty much into an entirely different postcode to avoid getting involved in this incident, in this racing activity between the two cars, but that's enough to put Taplin under the pressure. Taplin is it's very difficult not to react to an extra car on the racing space that you're not expecting, and that was the invitation that Luca Burke needed to make the move stick on Taplin ahead. So Luca Burke miraculously gets up into the podium positions. He's got a slower Ferrari in front, going a lap down again. Great behaviour from the traffic there. The Ferrari gets well out of the way in a sensible part of the racetrack, and after what feels like 90 minutes of side-by-side racing with just these two drivers, Luca Burke eventually lifts himself into that final podium position, 13.8 seconds away from Ross Mcgregor, ahead with 27 minutes left on the clock to do something about it. And that's Stevenson there, I believe, under pressure from Jesse Rowland. So Rowland, a driver that has obviously already been in for a pit stop, got much fresher tyres than Will Stevenson ahead, and he's painting himself onto the back of that Bentley, looking at every bit of the racetrack and some bits that aren't, to try and find a way past. This is what we feared for Will Stevenson. The early stop, the tyres are compromised compared to those around him, and his ultimate pace is not significant enough to start a gap in these cars. So Will Stevenson in a big fight to try and retain a place in the top 10 as Jesse Rowland looks at the inside. Stevenson sees that one coming, goes for the wide line, stays at the inside into the left-hander, doesn't quite have enough speed, but Jesse Rowland runs wide. Stevenson's allowed back into that position, and he lives to fight for another corner. But again, Stevenson knows what's coming now, highly defensive. That's a wise move by Stevenson. He's let Jesse Rowland pass. He knows it's inevitable the overtake's going to happen. Stevenson just needs to concentrate on his own race, his own car, his own pace, and try and minimise time loss now for the duration of the race. So the upshot of that is Jesse Rowland moves the Audi R8 LMS into 9th position and continues his chase of Ricardo Navon ahead. So Jesse Rowland, good drive. We've seen him in a little bit of strife earlier, been in quite a few incidents and racing manoeuvres, but Jesse Rowland, very, very solid performance, currently in 9th position. Race control have informed me that there's a review of car number 55 and 73, but no further action has been taken, and also a review of car number 22 and 111, which has resulted in a drive-through penalty for car number 111, which is Steve Worrell in the Ferrari, currently sitting in 26th position. So Worrell will be serving a drive-through penalty in the next 3 laps. Otherwise, he'll be opening himself up to a stop and go. So, car number 22 that was involved with, which is George Murphy. So Murphy and Worrell coming to grief, resulting in a penalty for Steve Worrell as Caitlin around the outside. 2 massive Bentleys in one piece of tarmac, does not go. Caitlin and Stevenson, was it, I believe, have made contact. Both cars managed to keep going, not too much time lost there, but Caitlin a little bit more aggressive, not quite aware of exactly how big his car is compared to the circuit, and those 2 cars come together, but no significant time loss for either driver, which is fortunate. I think the other car involved in that one may have been Stevenson, but I will let you know further into the race. And the upshot of that is Will Stevenson finds himself down in P11. So, as we suggested at the top of the broadcast, Will Stevenson appears to be struggling for lap time now in his slightly older shod Team Parker Racing Bentley Continental GT3, and is, sadly for Will, dropping back like a stone off the side of a building. He's dropping down the running order. So Will Stevenson has got his hands full and then some for the last 23 minutes of this race. Real shame. It's a valiant effort from Stevenson. He had to try something a little bit different, tried a contra strategy to the rest of the field in the hopes that that would bring back some advantage, but that does not seem to be working out too well for him at the moment, as we see George Murphy in the Jenson Button Jenson Team Rocket RJN liveried McLaren there. A car that we've not seen much of, actually, the McLaren in this race so far, but a beautiful livery, reminiscent of Jenson Button's 2009 championship-winning Formula One livery in the Braun Grand Prix car, of course. Jenson's only Formula One World Championship win. Those who don't know the story, Braun Grand Prix Like a phoenix from the flames, rose from the ashes of the departing Honda team, had one season in Formula 1, won the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship, and then departed gracefully to morph into the team that we now know as AMG Mercedes, which have gone on to win pretty much everything, which is, well, depends on if you're fans of them or not, but it's had an impact on how interesting Formula 1's become. But anyway, I digress. Let's get back to the track action, as we are looking now at Murphy in said Jenson Button livery McLaren, chasing down Fernando Silva in the Ferrari. So Murphy Silva, 22-23, in the peculiar position of being faster than Stevenson, who's 11th and a lap in front of them, but looking to lap themselves and maybe a little bit confused as to whether they should go past. Do they have enough outright pace to gap Stevenson and not delay him? I'm afraid Stevenson's in strife at the moment. If memory serves me correctly, Stevenson came in his early stop from P12, so net he's still in front of where he would have been if he had stayed out and pitted in a traditional pit formation. But here you can see how much he's struggling. Fernando Silva a lap down, looking this way and that to find a way past the car in front of him, and Silva is just going to have to commit to the overtake. Hopefully Stevenson's aware of what's happening, and then Silva's just going to have to get his head down and try and put a gap in, lest he fall foul of blue flags, which is ever a danger when you're not on the same lap as the car in which you are racing. An incident between car number 22 and 137 has been reported as well by race control. Car number 22137, that is, I'm just scanning up and down the leaderboard to find out who they are. 22 is George Murphy in the McLaren that we were looking at earlier, and number 137 is a number that is invisible to me. So I will come back to that one later on when I found it, rather than spending the next 10 minutes searching up and down an ever-moving timing screen. 137, Will Stevenson. There you go. So Stevenson under investigation for an incident between himself and George Murphy in the McLaren. Meanwhile, serenely on goes Kvylian in the pink McLaren, currently stretching his lead to 10.6 seconds over Ross McGregor behind. So Kvylian driving a very beautiful race after inheriting the lead early on with a clash between Burke and Stevenson, and has never really looked troubled since. We've not seen much of him because he's doing exactly what he needs to do. Keep it clean, keep it safe, keep it under control, and stroke it home now for the final 20 minutes of the race. And actually, Ross McGregor, who I expected to close the gap, is now starting to come under pressure from Luca Burke behind. So Luca Burke 5.7 seconds behind Ross McGregor's Bentley, closed down 2 or 3 seconds in the last couple of laps. Currently the fastest lap holder with a 58.449 is Luca Burke, as he's continuing to close that gap down. So that's one that's going to be worth watching in the final throes of this race. Luca Burke has had, as I say, probably the busiest race out of everybody, out of all 50 drivers that we've seen so far today. And he'll be very, very keen to cap off what has been an exceptional performance and some phenomenal pace with the second step of the podium. I think the race lead is out of reach with the amount of time that we've got left on the clock. But if Luca Burke can close down those 5 seconds and change to Ross McGregor ahead, it will be a phenomenal performance. But as Murray Walker so famously said, catching is one thing, getting past is very much another. So Ross McGregor wasn't born yesterday. There's no flies on McGregor. So Luca Burke's going to have quite the challenge on his hands should he manage to close that gap at the front of the field. Nico Sky now 15th place in the Gulf livery Porsche 911. We saw him down pit road earlier on, lost a handful of places, but currently closing down rapidly. Michele Esposito in the Aston Martin in front. So Sky has got more pace at this stage of the race, stopped a little bit later than those around him. So fresher boots, even if he's got the same amount of fuel on board, fresher boots working wonders actually. Sky significantly faster off of the Beckett's complex got the inside line, down behind the straight. This should be an easy conversion into an overtake. Was a little bit deep on the brakes, manages to keep it on the racing tarmac, but runs a little bit wide, allows the Aston back and around the outside again, shows his nose more in frustration and than actual intent, although that is enough to cause a suboptimal line, shall we say, for Esposito and the Aston in front. But Sky has it all to do again as he gets out of the throttle and lets a lapped car pass. So Mirko Sky out of the throttle, compromised by the traffic, but he has to make, the blue flags are there, he has to make it easy for the Bentley in front, which he does, and then he's rewarded by the Aston doing the same in front and closing that gap down to probably what it was before the Ross Mcgregor, I think it is, Bentley so rudely came and interrupted this battle. And that just shows you, folks, the pace that we're seeing at the front of the field. They're no slouches, Esposito and Skype in 14th and 15th, and they're already a lap down after an hour and 15 minutes worth of racing. So the pace at the front has been frantic, it's been hot, and has been consistent, which is the key thing. The top 2, 3, 4 drivers, lap after lap, have been right on the very limit. Speaking of somebody who's been on the limit and occasionally over it, Tommy Sari now in 16th place, closing down on Sky in front. Tommy Sari is a driver that has been challenging on-off most drivers on the racetrack today, and we saw that Sky is interested in buying into the fight with Esposito in front, and now he needs to watch his mirrors as the very menacing looking black and luminous green or yellow, whatever you want to call it, Aston Martin behind is lights on. This means, hello, I mean business. I am knocking on the door of an overtake in front. So Mirko Sky needs eyes in the back of his head, which is not helpful, because looking behind him has caused him to get a little bit of a twitch through the corner. He does well to correct it. Opposite lock applied very, very quickly in the Porsche, but that loss of time, that little moment has opened the door which Tommy Sari has walked through. Thank you very much. And it now becomes an Aston Martin versus an Aston Martin battle, and Mirko Sky drops down to 16th and has to watch from afar. Although he's got the best seats in the house, let's be fair, for the fight in front of him, and Sky needs to reset somewhat and try and close back down for this increasingly intense fight for 14th in front as we head, ladies and gentlemen, into the final 15 minutes of the race. So in good YouTuber style, and I am not that style, but I'll do it anyway, smash that like button, everybody, subscribe, join us on our venture through this race and many, many more to come. It's going to be fun. Tommy Sari's enjoying himself, you can see. Throws the car down the inside. The Michele Esposito knows what's coming, knows that it's gone, and Tommy Sari, in the end, takes a pretty safe, pretty clean overtake. Esposito drops back into 15th position. Tommy Sari moves one more place on the field, currently in 14th, and off on his merry way to try and close down a 16-second gap to Salaka in 13th, who's pretty much sat doing nothing with nobody in front and nobody behind. So Tommy Sari, can he make a second per minute up on the car in front? I doubt it, but let's find out. He's already gapping the car behind, and actually Sky has very, very quickly got back into contention, and he's almost all over, for prone to exaggerating there, Paul, and saying he's all over the back of him. No, he's not, but he's getting close to being all over the back of Esposito in front. As Esposito does a little bit of mowing of the Silverstone grass, that's very kind of him, but that is not the fastest way through that corner. And Sky will see this and be thinking, yes, some opportunity awaits me. Instead, I'll throw it away by looking in an overtake. It's never going to happen, and drop 4 tenths back and do it all over again. So, a little bit clumsy from Mirko Sky there, but both drivers now really seem a little bit ragged. Mental fatigue are the kicking in. We've been driving on the limit for an hour and 15 minutes. I don't know about the parts of the world that these guys are in, but in the UK, even now, this time of the evening, it's a very warm day. We're warm with the racing gloves on, potentially the boots, the PC kicking out heat from running the game, and the mental and physical toll of driving these cars will be taking its toll, and very warm conditions for our racers to be racing in. Keep hydrated, Paul. and a quick sip of water as we're talking about the heat. As we look back on our race leader, the pink McLaren has now got an 11.2 second gap to Mcgregor. So Mcgregor, unless something dramatic happens to Cavillan, is out of running for race victory. But Luca Burke is only 3.5 seconds away from McGregor. So Luca Burke is closing that gap at a significant rate of knots in the Aston Martin. He's got a 3.5 second gap to close down in 12 minutes 25 seconds, and the pace that both cars are driving at this moment in time suggests that Burke maybe does have enough speed in his car to close that gap down. But will it be enough to get past the Ross McGregor Bentley? And we're also coming very, very much, as we see David Jesson in the AMG Mercedes now, coming very much into the heart of lapped traffic where anything could happen there. So although McGregor is 11.3 away from the race lead, it's still not over yet until the cars cross the finish line. Race control tell me there's an incident between 107 and number 24 under investigation by our race stewards. So 107 is Ross McGregor and number 24. So Ross McGregor was currently second, and Bruno Hudson in 35th is car number 24. And actually Hudson received a drive-through penalty for that. So that's obviously some kind of blue flag incident that Hudson has been involved in with second place man Ross McGregor, and McGregor is going to be dreading seeing all these cars around him. This is just what Luca Burke needs. The gap is now 2.8 seconds, folks, with 11 minutes left on the clock. So McGregor is going to very, very quickly be under some pressure from Luca Burke in the Aston Martin. McGregor's going through and sort of waking the traffic up a little bit, letting them know that fast cars are coming up through to lap them, making them that little bit more aware that they're going to be in a blue flag situation. Potentially that's going to play in Luca Burke's hands as the gap drops to 2.6 seconds now, so a further 0.2 of a second, and we can see McGregor and Burke in the same shot as we head into the last 10 minutes and 33 seconds of what's been an absolutely barnstorming motor race in the Assetto Corsa Competizione Racing Club SRO Esport Warm Up event powered by GT and Mega Racing. This has been fantastic, community-driven esports sim racing. The community is where it matters as McGregor goes completely wide. I think he's had a disconnect, so Ross McGregor loses. Oh, the last 10 minutes of the race, we've lost Ross McGregor. That is a disaster for McGregor. Okay, Glide, just bear with us a moment as we seem to be having a little broadcast technical difficulty. So bear with us for a few moments. The final 10 minutes of the race is still going ahead, and we've lost server connection. So bear with us while we try and look what is happening here. We will be back with you in just a few moments' time. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with us here. Unfortunately, we've lost connection to the server, so everybody has dropped from the race, which sadly means the server is online, but everybody, all competitors, including us on the broadcast team, have dropped from the server. So an unfortunate technical difficulty has been undertaken in the final 10 minutes of the race, which is disappointing for all concerned. I'm sure you share that disappointment with us, and we apologise. But with 10 minutes to go, having lost all drivers, I think it's fair to say that we're going to have to call that result as it was just before the server went down on us. But yeah, such is unfortunately the trials and tribulations of online competition, and this was very much a test broadcast as well for ourselves. So not quite sure exactly what has happened here, but we will inform you as and when we find out. But yes, 10 minutes left on the clock, and we are over and done with due to server difficulties. What the original intention, should we have made it to the end of this broadcast, would have been to have announced our winner of the GT Omega Wheel Stand Classic. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do that announcement during the broadcast now due to the server difficulties we've had. So we will be announcing that on social media in a very short while. We will put up the race results at racedepartment.com. And of course, we will directly inform the person who wins the prize draw. I hope very much that you've enjoyed the broadcast today, apart from a little bit of excitement towards the end. This has been the Assetto Corsa Competizione Racing Club, which is a racing club held at Race Department for premium members of the website to take part. We have races on a regular basis, so come and join us. Please give us a like and a subscribe on our YouTube channel. See us over at Race Department Twitch, where we'll be hosting all the races live from the SRO Esport GT Series AM Championship. And of course, we have a podcast. Do visit that on the podcast provider of choice. I've been Paul Jeffrey. This has been Race Department TV. A big thank you to everybody involved in this production, to Race Control, to our broadcast sponsor, GT Omega, to all you guys that have raced out on circuit, and everybody that's watched from home. Can't wait to bring you our next broadcast tomorrow, live on Twitch with to be something excited about that one that I'm not going to reveal today, but tune in for that. It will be fun. Until next time, thanks everybody. Take care. See you later. Goodbye.